afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. It's the second day of trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. As expected, activity is muted. However, I will give you an overview of what was happening yesterday on the bourse, what we are seeing today, and some of the sentiments we expect to drive the market as we go along the week. Later on, when we take a break, we will be discussing the leading indicators report. This is a report that looks at the different sectors as well as the macro indicators over the month of September. It was published by the National Bureau of Statistics on the 2nd of October. To help us unpack these numbers, we will be joined later on in studio by Mr. George Bunga. I will introduce him later on in the show. But for a start, let's take a look at what was happening on the NSE yesterday, being Monday, the first trading day of the week. Yesterday, 12th of October, indices were slightly mixed, but in terms of an overview of the market, it was a very slow day. Expected. Every Monday and every Friday, beginning and end of the week is always a very slow beginning and a slow end to the week, so nothing unusual there. For the indices, we did see the NSE All Share gain slightly up 0.07 percentage points to close at 140.14. NSE 20 share was down 6 percentage points to close at 1.830.49 points. Let's take a look at what was happening on turnover. Comparing turnover for yesterday compared to where it traded at on 11th of October, there was a slight, there was actually a huge decline over the day, 38% drop in equity turnover to what started the week yesterday. Some of the key trades we saw were in equity and as well as East African breweries and Safaricom. The interesting trade for the day was East African breweries, which actually closed up in terms of price at 168 shillings per share. This particular stock was trading at 161, 162 in the previous week. Let's take a look at what was happening on the prices and we can see who the top gainers were. But before we look at the top gainers, let's take a look at the top movers by volume. By turnover, as I had mentioned, Safaricom was the top trader by equity turnover. Equity turnover simply being the price of the share multiplied by the volume that went through. EABL was second, and then we had Equity Group. By volume, we are only looking at the number of shares that were traded, excluding the price impact. Safaricom was the top traded mover at 3.14 million shares traded over the day. NSE was also up there, 2 million shares traded over the day. And we also had Equity Group, 829,000 shares traded over the day. Some little movement in TransCentury, 547,000 shares traded. And CBA Group, which has been in the public realm for the last month or so, also saw a bit of activity, 333,000 shares traded, and we have been seeing some slight uptick on price. This stock touched a low of 20 shillings per share in the month of September. It has since rebounded and has been trading at the 23, 24 shillings per share mark. Let's take a look at who the top gainers were. Small caps were the dominant movers there. We had Flametree Group up 6 percentage points, TransCentury up 5.7 percentage points. The key one there is Cooperative Bank, which has been gaining. It's up 3 percentage points to 11.85 shillings per share. There was a huge trade that went through this particular stock last week, and we have been seeing a bit of momentum in terms of the price movement as well as slight momentum when it comes to the volume that this stock is trading. The top losers there, we have also a bit of activity there from the small caps. Housing Finance was the dominant one there in terms of the losers streak. It was down 7.75 percentage points to 3.69. Kenya Re corrected the gains that it had reported over the last 2 weeks. It had come down to 2 shillings per share in the month of September, went up to 2.4 shillings per share, now is straddling at the 2.2 shillings per share mark. Yesterday, compared to Friday, it was down 6.78 percentage points. Total Kenya also down 4.6 percentage points. Stanbic Bank has been up and down. Now it's down at 80.5 shillings per share. And Bank of Kigali Group also down 3 percentage points to 13.5. A bit of a muted week ahead, not too much happening. But what is of interest is the fact that we have closed the quarter. End of quarter means one thing for the NSE. it means to start looking out for bank financial numbers that are expected towards the end of October. KCB and Equity Group tend to be at the helm of reporting these numbers. What is unique about this time round is the fact that we have come to the sort of tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic, at least as far as it being a national pandemic is concerned. We have seen a bit of relaxation to the curfew parameters. The restrictions in terms of movement within the country have been lifted, and now you can stay out longer as well as enjoy a bottle or two if you are a participant or a partaker of alcoholic beverages. All of these are pronouncements that came at the end of the quarter, and of course we will be expecting to hear from the banks. What does this mean? Are they optimistic of the final quarter of the year? And is there any possibility that they could review their loan loss provisions, or are they actually going to start booking non-performing loans? That has been the key item that we have been looking at when we are looking at banks. We will discuss banks in a bit more detail later on in the week. But that's just the key information we are waiting to receive for this particular month. Outside of that, not too much trading activity, at least no trigger points for Kenya. The other key data set that we are looking out for is the second quarter GDP numbers. This were expected on the 30th of June, at least going by what happened, 30th of September, at least going by what happened in the year 2019. There has been a delay. We continue to await to see these numbers, but for now, we will be discussing the leading indicators that were published on the 2nd of October, just talking about the different sectors, what the outlook looks like, as well as an overview of the macro indicators. When we take a break, we will be joined by Mr. George Muka, and he will be taking us through an overview of understanding what these numbers are, as well as what they mean for you, for your business, or for your investments. We will see you after the break.